Chevrolet currently sells the Corvette in 3 different powertrains. This is the Z06, which is the most expensive, the most powerful, the fastest, and the most dynamic in the lineup. It's not the quickest Corvette. That title goes to the E-Ray, which hits 60 in 2.5 seconds thanks to all-wheel drive and instant torque from an electric motor. The Z06 hits 60 in a meager 2.6 seconds. But it nevertheless is the top-of-the-line Corvette as of June 2024, so I want to see what it has in store. Now, I specify that this is currently the top-of-the-line Corvette because the ZR1 Corvette we know is going to come out probably in the next couple months, which will have even more power. It will probably use a turbocharged version of the Z06's engine, which is absolutely absurd because this vehicle is already so fast. Now, in the engine bay of Corvette Z06, you're going to find a unique engine to what you would find in Corvette Stingray and E-Ray. Those 2 vehicles use the same engine. This is a naturally aspirated 5.5-liter flat-plane crank V8, which produces 670 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. It's also hand-built. That makes it one of the most powerful naturally aspirated engines ever installed into a production car. Inside the Corvette Z06, it's very familiar to all other C8 Corvettes. This is my 4th C8 Corvette I've spent time in, 2 Stingrays and an E-Ray, and now this one, and this is very familiar. This is the 3LZ trim level, which is why it has all these very nice finishes like these white seats, this suede headliner. This is the T-Top Z06. You can also get it in as a convertible, so this panel just lifts off. Really, the only differences I notice is that this has an Alcantara and carbon fiber steering wheel, which is an optional extra. And it says Z06 at the bottom of the steering wheel. Pretty much everything else is exactly like the Stingray Corvette and the E-Ray Corvette. Now, this particular Z06 is spec'd kind of interestingly. It has basically every option. It's $147,000 except the Z07 Performance Package, which upgrades the suspension, gets you that massive rear wing, gets you nicer tires too. I find that odd because I think most people who buy a Corvette Z06, they're probably going to want the even better, the even more performance-oriented Corvette Z06. This one is more of a luxury spec Z06, which is rather interesting. It has this 3LZ trim level with all of the other upgrades that come with that. This one also has the carbon ceramic brakes, which is really nice. That's the biggest option on this one. It's about $9,000. But I would have loved to see the Z07 Performance Package because that one makes the car look cooler and also drive even better, although this one still drives really well. I personally don't think I would go for the 3LZ trim level just to get all of these nice features because I don't think I'd need that in a Corvette Z06. You probably have another car if you do drive a Corvette Z06 unless you're Eddie X and the Z06 is your only vehicle. But this is a little bit of an interesting spec. Still an incredible vehicle. Now, it's not just a more powerful engine that makes the Z06 special. It's also slightly wider with wider wheels, upgraded tires, upgraded suspension than the Stingray. The E-Ray is also wider like the Z06 is. You can also see all of these air intakes along the front of this car and along the side, which really help keep all of the mechanical elements of this vehicle cool. All right, driving the Chevrolet Corvette Z06, guys, this car kind of answers all of my issues with the Corvette Stingray. That car is so much fun, and it's still so fast. 0 to 60 happens in less than 3 seconds in the Stingray. But after driving that car on this road, I was like, you know what? This car could handle a lot more power. The chassis of this C8 generation Corvette is just so good. And the Z06 gives you that extra power. It gives you the power to make this car really come into its own. It is so impressive. Let me switch into manual mode here. Oh my God, and this car revs so high. The Stingray Corvette only hits about 6,500 RPMs at redline. This one is 8,600 RPMs, and this engine just sounds so good. Oh my God, it is amazing. Oh, this car, it's just so good, and 670 horsepower is so much. This thing goes so fast, and more impressive, I think, even than the power is this car's chassis. It just remains so flat in these corners. You can handle so much speed. It's shocking what this car can do. It just defies physics, and it sounds incredible. I'm so impressed with how this car handles. Oh, And these carbon ceramic brakes really come in handy after a long straightaway. They were very reassuring in how they stopped the car. Even though the E-Ray Corvette is faster to 60, this is definitely a step up in terms of driving dynamics. So the E-Ray has the same engine that the Stingray Corvette has. So, you know, that engine it's really fun and it's really fast in a straight line, but it's only makes about 500 horsepower. So it takes a little bit to spool up, and in some cases it doesn't necessarily feel that dynamic. There are instances where it takes a second in order to deliver the power. This engine really doesn't have that, and the point of the E-Ray was, well, now you have the instant torque of the electric motor, but there were instances in the E-Ray where the electric motor, either you're at like too high of a speed for it to provide that much assistance to that V8, or you know, the battery can sometimes get depleted and then it's not adding as much electrical assistance, and then you kind of feel, there are moments where it does just feel like a Corvette Stingray. Obviously, because this doesn't have a hybrid system, this is just one engine, a different engine, a 5.5 flat plane V8. I mean, you're getting all of this 670 horsepower all the time. You never have to worry about what the system is doing, where the power is coming from. It's just amazing. You can push this car so much harder than you could push the Stingray, partially because of the brakes, and partially I think the widened track also really helps make this car feel super flat. Obviously, my comments about the Corvette Stingray were that the chassis could handle a lot more power, and so this is the same chassis, but it's also an enhanced chassis, so this can even handle even more power, which is obviously what the ZR1 will be. I can't wait to try out that vehicle. Hopefully I'm able to get my hands on that. It was hard to get my hands on the Z06, but oh my god. This is one of the most dynamic cars I've ever driven, and on top of that, it's one of the most easy cars to push really hard that I've ever driven. A comparable vehicle in terms of driving feel for me was the Lotus Emira. That car is obviously a lot lighter, but that car is a lot harder to drive hard. You have to really be focused to drive that car very hard. It has the hydraulic steering and the really mechanical manual gear selector. This car, I mean, like, I'm not saying anyone could drive this car very hard, but it's not like I have a whole lot of, you know, competitive driving experience or dynamic driving experience, and I feel like I'm having so much fun, and I'm definitely driving this car faster and harder than any other car I've taken on this road. It's so just easy to drive this car hard. And it's crazy to me that this car starts at only $113,000, which is a lot of money for a Corvette. But the Stingray that I had earlier this year was optioned all the way up to like $105,000, which is just crazy. This one is $147,000. Has a lot of options, obviously, but a base Corvette Z06 still has that engine, and that's what matters. So that's the Chevrolet Corvette Z06. I concluded my video about the Chevrolet Corvette Stingray by saying the chassis could handle a lot more power. I concluded my video on the Corvette E-Ray by saying this car has more power than the Stingray, but it's not very consistent. There are some moments when the battery is depleted on the Corvette E-Ray that you're kind of just feel like you're driving a Corvette Stingray. This Z06 never is depleted. You are getting that 670 horsepower all the time, and this powertrain is just so raw and exhilarating. And this chassis remains impossibly flat, and you can corner with impossible speeds. It's just so much fun. I would love to drive this car around a track, because even though you can have so much fun with this car on the canyons like I did, that's where this vehicle would truly be at home. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.